American Sign Language considered a foreign language? There was a debate going on whether or not American Sign Language is considered a foreign language or just a second language. They believed it was a derivative of English and that it didn't have its own literature, culture, or grammatical structure that foreign languages typically have. ASL is a naturally forming language just like English, but it is not a manual form of English or a visual form of English. ASL has its own grammatical structure and word order. They tend to flip clauses around in sentences and negate at the end of sentences. So in English, maybe we would say, I didn't go to the store today. In ASL, you would say it as, I went to the store today, didn't. They also use facial expressions in body language as grammar markers. So they may use facial expressions as an adjective to show how big or small something is, or they might show how close or far away an object is. Foreign language, an argument was made at the Pacific Northwest Foreign Language Teachers Association that it couldn't be considered a foreign language because it was developed in America, therefore sharing the same cultural norms as American culture does. But ASL has its own culture even though it's indigenous to America. They have their own cultural norms that are different from ours. The deaf culture has been documented and there's been books written about how different it really is from the American mainstream culture. They tend to be very direct and don't beat around the bush, in which our culture that can maybe seem as slightly rude or upfront. They also make eye contact throughout the entire conversation. And if they break eye contact, it's for grammatical reasons. They also, but in our culture, we tend to break eye contact a lot during conversations. We don't just stare at each other the entire day. There is no written form of ASL. So another argument that was brought up during the Teachers Association was that it would be very difficult to develop a curriculum because there's not any literature, and how would the students study that aspect of a foreign language? So, although ASL doesn't have a written form of its language, it does have literature that can be studied and turned into a curriculum. They have poetry, jokes, stories that have been passed down through generations, like fairy tales and folklore. They also have games, wordplay, and history. Now that we have the ability to record, video recording and social media, there's so much documented ASL literature and stories and history and things like that it's really finally been able to be studied by linguists and anthropologists to show just how complex ASL is with its literature and its language itself. After a serious debate, ASL proves that it meets all the requirements to be a foreign language. It's not a derivative of English. It's a naturally forming language with its own grammatical structure that differs from ours. It has a very deep and rich culture that is not the same cultural norms as the mainstream American culture. It has many years of history, stories, and poetry to prove it has its own literature, and that it could be developed into a curriculum because of all of its easily for schools. It could be developed into a curriculum easily for schools. Because of all this evidence, ASL is now being recognized as a foreign language and is the third most used language in America. Thank you.